Okay. Good to go. Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una. وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So today's lesson 11, is super easy. Inshallah, we're going to go through it, and then we are going to go back to lesson 10 for those people who weren't here. Willie, you weren't here? You here last week? You here last week? You weren't here last week? No? Mikhail, were you here last week? I think you weren't focusing too much. Okay? So we'll see. So this is a super easy and super useful lesson, number 11, which is the idea that every single word in Arabic has 3 root letters. It's super useful because it means there's actually a structure, right? Just like in English, like there is no structure, just random. Right? So it's kind of quite hard to learn English. You just have to like memorize stuff. So in Arabic, it's not like that. Right? In Arabic, the default is you have 3 root letters. You get those 3 root letters, they have a meaning, or at least an abstract meaning, and you put them together to do stuff, right? So the best example is the word, the word ilm. I think that's one of the best examples, ilm, right? So I have ilm, and I have alam, and I have alama. And other keywords, alam, ilm, alam, alama. Trying to think another word that's related to it. Right, so ilm, this means knowledge. Okay, this means knowledge. This is the abstract meaning of ayn, lam, and mim. Whenever you find anything that has these root letters, these root letters in it, you're going to have something to do with knowledge. So you get, for example, an alam, which is a flag. Alam means a flag. It also means a huge mountain. And it also means a proper noun. Right? So what's the relationship between knowledge and a flag? One stands for something, right? There's a flag, and it says this is an Afghani flag. Oh, that must be Afghanistan. Oh, it's the wrong place. But that doesn't make any sense. Here's an American flag. That means you're in America, right? So a flag is there to tell you where you are. A huge mountain is there to tell you where you are. Oh, we're on this side of Mount Diablo. We're here. That's where we must be. We must be in this area, right? So you call a huge mountain, you call it alam, because it tells you where you are, right? Proper noun tells you who this person is. That's his name, right? So that's how you know who it is. Alama is a sign, right? It means a sign. Alama, right? Alama as-sa'a, the signs at the end of time, right? So sign and knowledge, they're like related. So you find anything that's going to do with this word, like alim, from this word you're going to get a fixed structure, which is alim. So it has an ayn, a lam, and a mim, which means a scholar. Mu'allim, somebody who teaches other people. Okay? You get ma'lum, information, or known. Ma'lumat means information. So something that is known, to do with knowledge. Mu'allim, what else? Alim, ta'aleem, which is education. Right? The process of making people know. I don't know. Get other words as well. Ta'allum, ta'allama, which means he learnt. Anything that you find isti'lam, to inquire about, to ask about something, to find knowledge, right? I'lam or i'lan, that's another kind of word. But these are all to do with the same thing. So you find any word that has ayn, lam, and mim in it, somehow it's got something to do with knowledge, right? And 90% of the time, you will not just find out that it has something to do with knowledge, but the particular relationship. So I say, for example, we will learn in unit maybe 30 or 35 or something like that. Any word on this pattern has a meme with a dhamma, fatha, shadda with a kasra. This means somebody who causes the root meaning. Somebody who causes it. For mushajja', somebody who encourages, because shuja'a is courage. So encourage means to cause courage. Mushajja', somebody who encourages, right? And so I will then know I have abstract meaning, 3 root letters, pattern, put it together, this is what it is, even though I've never seen the word in my life. Just like in English, I say educator. Oh, I've never heard that, but I know educate is to do with education. And means somebody who does it, right? But that was quite difficult. The structure for educator is quite complex. You've got the E at the beginning, which means good. You've got the word duct, which means direction or leadership. You've got 8, which is like random, and it somehow there came in the Latin at some point. And then OR at the end, which is sometimes OR, sometimes ER in English, to tells you somebody who's doing it. It's a bit random in English, because it's a bit of a mix. In Arabic, it's very simple. So you can learn Arabic in a very short time because you have a system, and you have a bunch of abstract meanings, you put them together and you got it. And you can make up words very easy, right? And a case, for example, was my dad, for example. My dad, where did he learn? The first foreign language, well, not the first foreign language, but the first Eastern language he learned was Pashto. So he became Muslim, he took a Shahada in Pashto. Then he learned Urdu. In Urdu, he learned Arabic. And then in a class, you're around people who are speaking Urdu, and they're learning Arabic like you people are Arabic, then he bumps into a Palestinian, and he's talking to a Palestinian. How can you start talking to a Palestinian? Because if you know Urdu, you have all these basic words. And then if you know the structure, you can just build it very easily. Right? You have the word adhan, so you can get the word mu'adhin immediately. The person who calls the adhan, mu'adhin, easy. Right? Mi'dhana, the tool on which you do the adhan. I've never seen the word before, but I know that mif'ala is tool. Tool of adhan. I guess a microphone, a thing that you do the adhan on, I don't know. But it's a tool of the adhan. Yes. To cause the root meaning, yeah. So all you need to know is the process you do. Let's look at the word maximum. I'm looking at the words in this word, exit, maximum, root. There's no root, there's no base words for these. There's nothing I can reduce it to. In Arabic, I'm going to say, makhraj, place of kharaja, place of exit. That's super easy, that makes sense. That's the place. Madkhal, place of entrance, place of exit. Okay, that's super easy. You can break it down, right? Whereas in English, you just memorize lots of data. That's what you do. There's not actually a system. You just have to memorize lots and lots of words. You can start to build some things. Most of them, the structures are Latin, right? But otherwise, Arabic is a really easy language to learn because all you do is root letters, structure, right? 99% of the time, yes. There are such things as 4 root letters as well. They do exist. And most of those 4 root letters are sounds or movement. Like sha'a, which means to flash. Salsala, to clink. So they're what we call onomatopoeic words, words to do with sounds. So they're often like not normal words, right? Itma'anna, so that's ta. Itma'anna has a ta in it, a mim in it, a hamza and a noon. Those are the root letters. Tuma'nina is the root letter. So that's different. Normally though, qalb, from qalaba yaqlibu, to turn. Qalb, qulub, inqilab. So I'm talking about a revolution. You're talking about spirituality, and he's talking about flipping cards. It's all the same. Same word. Idea, this. Qalb, iqlib. Same thing. Inqilab means revolution. That's a certain pattern for the process of a country turning over, right? But it's the same idea. Okay. Yes. It could be a ta, it could be a meme, so it's different thing. So here, this has a root that has a letter at the beginning. This does not have a letter at the beginning. But this is a particular pattern. For example, fa'il, sajid, Kadhib. It all means somebody doing the root letter. So kadhib, a liar. Sajid, somebody doing sujood. Alim, somebody doing knowledge. So I know the structure. That means somebody doing this thing, right? Yeah, but this means, so this structure is almost equivalent to, that's almost equivalent to the ER/OR ending in English. So you saw tractor, that means something doing tract. What does tract mean? It means to pull. So something that pulls something else. That's what it means, right? Educator, somebody who educates. Liar, somebody who's lying, right? It could be a person or a thing, but that's the general picture, is that pattern, anybody on that pattern, it means somebody doing something. Khaliq, creator. How many fixed patterns are there? So of the most common patterns, I would say there are 10 times, about 40 most common patterns. But maybe if you say in total, it's like 80. Yeah, it's like a function. It's like f of x, right? Like f of x, right, in math. F of x equals, right? The same kind of things. Like these mathematicians are like, hey, we love it, right? It's a function, right? Just like in programming, function. Do this to this, right? You're going to say, find the cheapest product and put it on the front of the page, right? When you click sort by price, do the same function, right? So this is what it is. That's why it's like, it's nice. As opposed to a bazaar. You go to bazaar, it's like, I want the cheapest product that most visitors to this place buy. It's not organized. A bazaar is not organized like that. They don't change the shops. They don't do that thing. Whereas sort function, this is what it is. So Arabic's very like, this is nice. I like this. Whereas English is like, oh my God. Yes, so what you're going to find is later on in later units, we're going to see on 30 to 40 or 30 to 36, we're going to see units, we're going to have something called Form 1, which has 4 main patterns that go with it, and then Form 2, which has 4, and then these 10 forms, each of them have like 4 main patterns that go with them. So you get...
Form is kind of related.
Yes, it has a certain function, yeah, but then there's other functions as well. Yeah, there's other functions as well, and less common.
Ta, what does ta means? It is just ta.
So yeah, so it's not just ta, it is ta with a fatha, followed by a sukoon on the first root letter, followed by a kasra on the second root letter, followed by a ya, followed by a sukoon on it. That pattern. Whole structure, is going to be to the process of causing that thing. So education, encouragement, labeling as a lie. In English, they don't sound the same. In Arabic, it's all the same. I would say takdeeb, ta'aleem, and tashji'. So the shaju'a, he was brave. Tashji', making somebody else brave by encouraging them. That's that same thing. Takdeeb, labeling somebody as a liar, making them a liar. Takdeeb, right? Now sometimes and so what's really cool then is when you see the root letters and you say, what it actually means. Like, what does that word actually mean? All right, so sometimes in English, it's interesting to look at what does that word mean, right? Like educate means to lead in a good way. Like, that's interesting. Like, that's what it actually means. But sometimes it's kind of totally lost, right? And so what's nice in Arabic, you'll often find in tafsir or in the scholars of language, they'll say, what does this word mean? And they say, okay, let's look at the root letters. The root letters mean this. This is the original sense of the word. And they're like, okay, great. And that gives the real meaning, right? So Muslim from salam, from safety. Mu'min from aman, from safety, right? Kafir means to cover up. Kafir doesn't just mean non-Muslim. There's a big difference. Non-Muslim, I think, Brother Khalid was asking that question, maybe months ago, right? What was that translation you liked of kafir? It was, it wasn't unbeliever, it was atheist or something. Or atheist, right? Atheist is a negative sense. A means no, right? I don't believe in God, right? I believe in God, no, I don't believe in God, right? But kafir in Arabic means the thing that covers something else over. So that means there was something in front of you to begin with, right? Like I was like, where's your phone? And you're like, my phone's not here, and he covers it, right? This guy's being fishy now, right? It's something there, right? or they, so when you say transgender, right? My son was asking about this on the way here. That assumes you had a gender, right? When you say transgender, that means you say, I'm someone who's like, well, how do you identify? You identify, that means you had a gender, correct? So you do believe in a gender, right? Because otherwise you can't be transgender because you didn't change. So that means you believe you have changed. You've left from one place to another place, right? And so it's useful when you go back to the words. What does kafara mean? What does amana mean? What does aslama mean? Right? Like the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Muslimu man salim al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadi. Right? The real believer is the person from whose hand and tongue believers are safe. So the Prophet ﷺ was playing on the original meaning. Like, oh, I'm a Muslim. Yeah, but people aren't safe from you. So how are you really a Muslim? Right? Al-muhajiru man hajara ma nahallahu an, right? The person who does migrates, oh, I'm not going to live in Kuffar anymore, I'm going to go live in Medina. So yeah, but you left and went to Medina and I see you in a shisha bar in Medina. Like, what was the point? You didn't leave what Allah has forbidden you, right? And so that's what we want you to do, to leave what Allah has forbidden you, right? Not that you're doing the haram, right? So you see these words, they kind of, playing with these words. What does the word really mean, right? So this is the idea. That's all Unit 11 is doing. Unit 11 is just giving you exposure. It's not really teaching it. It just says, look at these words, right? And see how every single word has 3 root letters, and you can bring it back to something, right? And so again, this exists in different other languages as well, right? Somebody, for example, in Farsi, half the time in Farsi, right, I understand what's going on because they're speaking Arabic, right? So you take it apart like, oh, right, how do you say, for example, I know in Farsi? Right, mayfamam, right, from the word faham, right? So you got this may in the beginning, which means I'm doing, and you got this man at the end, which means me, and in the middle, you've got this word fahm, which means understand, right? So I can take it apart, right? I can take it apart. So that's not unique to Arabic, you can take a word apart, right? But it's just in Arabic, so that word in Farsi, that's not real Farsi. That's modern Farsi or classical Farsi. But before, like Pahlavi, real old school Farsi, like old Farsi, it's not going to be like that. You wouldn't be able to take that word in the same way because it doesn't have Arabic in it, right? Yeah.
Like when you're comparing like alim, you're comparing alim to muallim. Like, alim means scholar, right? And then muallim means teacher. Aren't they both like similar in terms of?
Yeah, but so when we analyze them later on in units, whatever, 13, whatever, we'll say this is form 1, this is form 2. Form 1 means somebody who's doing something. Form 2, somebody who makes somebody else do something. So a muallim is the person who makes you know, whereas ma'alim is the person who knows. So they're not the same, right? Okay? So daris, somebody who's studying. Mudarris, somebody who makes somebody else study, right? But the point is, every single word you can say is a structure and it has a root letter. And at least you can guess what it means. It has something to do with this, right? I mean, here was a bit random. Like, alam means big mountain. Like, what? I'm supposed to know that. Right? I look at the word like alam, I know ilm. Like, that's not that useful, but at least helps you understand something, right? Helps you kind of get an idea, right? Yes.
So it says khalaqa, but it says that he created, but we are not saying huwa khalaqa. So
Correct. So if you, the most basic thing that you can find in Arabic, if you get the 3 root letters, the most basic thing you can do is the stem, which is he did. That's the most basic thing. So I get a word like isti'lam, which means which means an inquiry, isti'lam. And I say it comes from alima, he knew. Isti'lam. So isti'lam means an inquiry. It was changed to mean a process, and it was changed to mean somebody seeking knowledge, right? And it's originally from alima, he knew. That is the most basic structure. So the most basic structure in Arabic, when you just have 3 letters, just the 3 letters, is he did something. He knew, he ate, he created, he went. That's the most basic structure. So when you say kharaja, that means he did something. You don't have to say huwa. Huwa is implied. Yeah. You want to say they, you're going to add something at the end. You're going to say we, like kharajna, we left. Right? Khalaqtu, I created. Right? Khalaqu, they created. But if you just want to say he, you just have the verb and that's it. Right? And that's why if somebody who might have done Arabic before, your first class might have been that. Your first class was daraba, darabu, darabat. Right? You might have done that. That's how you start in normal traditional thing, Ottoman curriculum in Afghanistan, in India. Usually they're going to say, in Arabic, the verb looks like this, and this is how you conjugate. That's the first class. Because that's the basis for every single thing. Right? And you just memorize, okay, kharaja. So I have that, and then how do you conjugate it? And then dhahaba, this means this, and etc. And that's everything. Okay, but the default is past tense, and the default is he. And we'll talk about whether it's past or not in unit 522. Because some things we're going to realize it doesn't really seem like the past at all.
And then should it be like alama?
So alima, so alam, this is a noun which means a flag or a huge mountain or a proper noun. Right? But the verb is alima, he knew, with a kasra in the middle. So as we'll learn in unit, I don't know what, maybe the next unit, I'm not sure, maybe unit 12, the past tense verb could be fa'ila, fa'ula, or fa'ala. Each verb could be different, right? So shaju'a, he was brave. Alima, he knew. Fahima, he understood. But kataba, he wrote. Or khalaqa has a fatha in the middle, right? So it could be slightly different, depending on the verb, right? So let's have a look then at on that page. If everybody could just read one out. So it says ma'kul, and then it gives akala, I believe. Or akala and then ma'kul, I can't remember how it organizes it. You could just, so if you could just read the first line.
Akala, ma'akul,
Ma'kul, yeah.
he ate and eaten.
Eaten or edible, you can translate it as well. So, right, ma'kulat bahriya, which means seafood. So like, what's that got to do with food? So what's that with akala? He ate, right? In English, food and fed, they're kind of related, but it's random. Like I can hear something, right? Fed and food, right? But otherwise, eat is not really related. But eat and edible is kind of related. It has a, but it's kind of a bit random. But you can hear. So in English, it's like you can only do like small pieces. It's like small structures. In Arabic, it's a whole thing, right? So there are examples. So ma'kul is on the pattern maf'ul. Everything on pattern maf'ul will be something that something's done to. Ma'lum, known. Ma'kul, eaten. Mashroob, drunk. I don't know. Ma'lum, maghdoob, hated. Right? It's going to be somebody is doing something to that thing.
So you're saying, if you add the meme and wow to the root.
If you add a meme in the beginning, sukoon on the first root letter, with a dhamma on the second root letter, and then add a wow, you're going to get
like a past tense.
You're going to get passive participle. It's called the passive participle, not past tense, but passive participle. The thing that thing's done to, right? So it's going to look like an ed word in English. Hated, eaten is different, but hated, such like that, right? We're not expecting you to memorize that now. That's going to come way later, right? But it's just exposure. Oh yeah, ma'kul and akala, same root letters, therefore same meaning. So what's the difference is they have a difference. So there's an abstract meaning or meaning plus pattern. That's how it works, right? Basically any word. There's some very clear, crystal clear patterns, and there's other general patterns. Like this pattern is generally used for this kind of thing. I'll give you an example. Dua is on the pattern fu'al, which is generally used for noise. So dua is not calling upon Allah, it's like crying to Allah. There's a big difference, right? So there's da'wah, like I'm going to call you to Islam, but there's dua, they're not the same word, right? Da'wat is like an invitation, right? But dua is like, Ya Allah, right? Like I'm shouting, right? It's on the pattern of word like surakh, which means to shout out, right? Or what else? There's other words, I'm trying to think of words on the pattern fu'al. Buka means to cry, right? It's on the same pattern, fu'al. So that's a pattern that is used generally for thing when you shout out, to do with sounds, right? So some of these things are kind of generally, some of them are more fixed.
Color I could make like.
Exactly. And ta'akkala means to corrode. Now that would be a bit hard to imagine. But now I'm like, I look at the word corrode, I'm like, I just memorized the word corrode. But ta'akkala is it ate itself away. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool, right? Right? For me, for example, like you learn things. I read the ingredients, it says mustahlibat. Like, what's mustahlibat? I'm like, mustahlibat. Means seeking to make. Halib, seeking to make milk. Emulsifiers. Like, oh, so milk is an emulsion. I didn't study chemistry. But now I know a milk. What is milk? Milk is a clever way of holding fat in liquid. And so you have emulsifiers. You're trying to hold fat in liquid. Oh, that's so cool, right? So when I'm looking at emulsifier, I don't know what that means. Like, what's an emulsion? I haven't studied chemistry. I don't know what an emulsion is. I just know the word. I might paint, I might read it in instructions, but that's mustahlibat. Things that are trying to make other things like milk, right? That's what's happening, right? I remember getting my brother, big brother, to read Malteser packets because they always had Arabic on it, right? Okay, who read the third one? You read the first one? Okay, second one?
So root word amara.
Amara.
He commanded, and the words formed from root words ta'muruna, you command, or you
command, right? So that's quite easy in English. He commanded. What's the system? You get the word command, put ed for the past in English, and then you command. That's pretty easy in English. But in Arabic, you can have a fixed thing, and that's what's happening. So we'll learn later on how do you get from past tense to present tense, and from present tense to you are doing, or they are doing, or she is doing, etc. Right? That's simple conjugation. There's no magic there. That's just kind of easy.
In this letter ta'muruna, it is a pattern, right?
That is a fixed pattern, yeah. Which means, so if I didn't know that word, I could look at it and it means you are doing something. I don't know what the word is, but I know it means you are doing something.
So in this word, what is the root word? Root is alif, mim,
And ra.
and ta.
So ta is added a particular place.
Waw is added and noon is
Noon is added, yeah.
So this noun is not we, right? The last.
The end of it is we, yes.
Is we.
Yeah,
But
the wow is
in
we.
this- In this context, it is the template.
And sure, that's correct. In this particular situation, it means you. Yeah.
Well, isn't any verb verb? Yeah, you add a ta to the beginning.
Becomes you, yeah. Yeah, and if you add a yeah to it, becomes they, or you, or he, or they. Okay, number 3.
Juma, Jama'a.
So we're going to have a classic example, right? Classic example, you're like, bro, Jummah is, what's it about? It's about gathering people. It's like, no, it's okay, we can have different Jummahs. It's like, right? The whole point of a Jummah is to do Jama', is to gather the whole of the Muslim community, right? That's the whole point, right? The default is that every single city has one Jummah because you gather all the Muslims of one city in one place. That's the default. It's like, oh yeah, that's what the word means. Oh, sorry, right? So was it easy for me to work that out? I saw the word Jumu'ah and I said, Jumu'ah, no. If I didn't know what Jumu'ah meant, all I would know is it's got something to do with gathering. How am I supposed to know that it's Friday? How am I supposed to know that? In fact, how did it even work, right? The days of the week weren't originally like that. So how did they, Yawm al-Jumu'ah, when was the first time the Prophet ﷺ ever referred to Jumu'ah as Jumu'ah, and what came to the Arabs' mind? This is a really interesting thing, right? And so sometimes you see that in hadiths. They'll say, for example, and then the Prophet ﷺ made wudu as you do for prayer. Like, well, what other wudu would you do? Because wudu for us is a ritual, right? But for them, wudu means washing. Right? So what was the original word that came to you? Zakah. Zakah is like, okay, we're collecting purity, guys. Like, what? What does that even mean? We're collecting growth. Like, what? How are you collecting growth? That's not a thing you collect. Right? That's what the word was originally asked. And it said, establish the prayer. They know what prayer is. You pray to Allah and give growth. Like what? Give praise, give purity. That's what the word meant to them. Right? For us, zakat, you do in Islam, right? So what did it even mean to them? I don't know, right? But at least I know Jumu'ah is related to Jama'. That's all I know. I can see like this. Alam, ilm, something to do with knowledge. So Jumu'ah has something to do with gathering.
Can there be like ulama?
Yeah, so that's the thing is, that's not a fixed system. So Jumu'ah, I could not, there's no system that says Jumu'ah means the day that you gather together for ritual things. No, it's just I know that has the same root letter, so therefore it's somehow connected. But otherwise, I didn't know. You wouldn't know that. You can't say uluma. That's not a word. That's not a fixed, clear pattern. Yeah. The word is something because we've got term both there. Yeah.
Something related to ask money. So, in this pattern, ta marbuta is a letter that is added. That's the pattern, right?
That's the
But,
pattern.
yeah, but does that pattern has you said everything has a function. Now, can we define a function for this? Like,
So Hamza, the ta marbuta has a number of different functions besides merely telling us that the person doing this action is female. So if I said, for example, alim, alima, you say, what was the function of the ta marbuta? Was to tell me that it's a female, right? Sometimes it's for the pattern, like salama means safety, right? Sometimes it's for intensity. Allama doesn't mean a female scholar, right? Allama means a super scholar. So the ta marbuta or fahama means like that. So there's certain patterns, they have a ta marbuta on them to begin with. Right?
pattern.
Yeah, that pattern so then you say the pattern is more for sound. Like it sounds good like that.
No, I'm
Right?
saying.
And so it doesn't so is what I'm trying to say is that when the function of the ta marbuta is sometimes difficult to define because sometimes it's for femininity, meaning I want to tell you the person is female. Sometimes it's like that's just the shape of the word. Like so you do say fu'ala, right? And you don't say fu'on, right? You do say fu'on, that has another thing. So sometimes that's the pattern, it has a ta marbuta on it. And it's not there to tell you that the person is female or that the object is female. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but it is a little bit confusing too. When is that ta marbuta has a feminine meaning? When is it a shape? When you mean by shape,
Yes.
is the pattern.
So the answer is you can't say all the time. Normally, especially if a word like this, alim, alima, that's kind of easy. Ma'lum, ma'luma, that's easy. Right? Shay'un ma'lumun, shajaratun ma'lumatun. Right? That's easy. But here on the pattern fu'ala, that's the pattern of the word. So the pattern of the word itself has a ta marbuta.
And what is this particular pattern as a function?
I don't think it has a clear meaning.
It doesn't have
No,
clear
no, no.
definition.
And it's not what's called qiyasi. Qiyasi is analogous. Right? Here, I can make any word up. Alim, jahil, I can make any word up. Right? Whereas fu'ala, you can't make up any word. It's not analogous.
So,
Yeah. So there are certain words that the system is vague. Right? For example, tools. We'll learn later on at unit 40. Tools on the pattern mif'al or mif'ala. So, well, why do you have 3 patterns for one meaning? And then sometimes it's going to change a little bit. It's like that's just how it is, right? So the frying pan is called miqlaya. It's on the pattern mif'ala. Like why is it on that pattern? I don't know. That's how we say it. But at least in English, frying pan, that's not a system. That's 2 words. Frying pan. You just said a pan that you fry on. Whereas miqlaya, that's from the word qali, which is to fry, and the word and a pattern. But how did I know which pattern was going to be used? I didn't. Right? So that wasn't. It's not. The system isn't perfect. That makes sense.
yeah, this concept is a little bit new.
Yeah.
For,
So, but all we want to know is, can I see? So Jumu'ah and Jama'ah. Can you see they have root letters? Yes. As opposed to church. When you hear the word church, which word in English does it connect you to? Nothing. I have no. Well, what is the abstract meaning of church? I don't know. Whereas masjid, place of sujud. Okay. Al-Masjid al-Jami' is a masjid in which you have Jumu'ah. There we go. right? So you can at least make a connection, whereas in English you can't make a connection.
So one last question. So
Go ahead.
so is it safe to assume like you take a root word and you cannot fit into all the patterns?
Yes, that's true. It's not 100% analogous. Meaning you can't just do anything you want. Just like when you're speaking English, not every joke will make sense. Not every joke, like if you ask AI to make a joke, it's not going to be funny half the time, right? Because it's not actually analogous. It's like there's certain things like that's not even funny, right? But it does help a lot. It's like very systematic and much easier than other languages. Yes.
Question. So, like when my dad he mentions like any salah we pray together and he says jama'ah. So like how does that
So
make
group,
sense?
that's group prayer. Jama'ah is group prayer. So jama'ah means group.
But wait, here it says he gathered. Wait,
Okay, so jama'ah means he gathered. Jama'ah
oh wait.
means a group.
So you're adding.
So he's saying, Salli salat al jama'ah. Let's pray the group prayer.
Wait, so you're adding
Jama'ah with alif.
uh,
Ta marbuta.
so you're adding
Jama'ah.
alif and
Yeah,
ta marbuta.
we're ahlus sunnati wal jama'ah. We are the group, right? Jama'ah. Right? Like alama, the same pattern, alama. Okay, who could read the next one? It doesn't, yeah, so it doesn't mean that it's not feminine, it's not like there's a female, because it's not even a person, it's a concept, right? So it's just like salama means safety.
Root word kharaja, he went out. Khuruj, leaving, exit.
So I see the word khuruj, and that's a rough system, a rough pattern that is generally used for processes that don't have an object. Generally, fu'ul is used, a process, and something happening, but that thing doesn't have an object. As opposed to akal, which is normally used for, so fa'al is usually used for processes that have an object. So akaltu hada, I ate this, right? Raja' means to return something. Ruju' means to return, just I returned home. So you use fu'ul, or usually for a process that doesn't have an object, and fa'al usually for a process that does have an object, but that's usually, right? It's not always the case. But the fa'alun, that pattern, fa'alun, yeah, that's the when we say fa'ala means he did, right? But I use that as a pattern. Fa'alun meaning 3 root letters, fatha on the first, sukun in the middle. Fa'alun is usually used for a process that has an object. Qatlun, to kill somebody, right? So for all julus, to sit, you don't sit somebody, you just sit, right? Su'ud, to go up. What was it? Sujud, you just do sujud. You don't sujud something, you just sujud. Right? Okay, bismillah, number 4 or 5, which one? Who's the next one?
خلق خالق.
Okay, so khalaqa, he created, khaliq, a person who creates. Okay, easy, right? So now at the back.
دخل يدخلون. دخل means he entered. يدخلون means they enter.
They enter.
So, Sheikh, on that, so it is a mixture of both added letters as well as the harakas.
Correct. It is
Pattern,
not.
the pattern
Yeah,
is both.
and so now you can see from that page, why would you not put harakat on a word? It doesn't make sense. If you're writing Arabic or Hebrew or any other languages that have the same structure, there's no sense in putting fatha dhamma kasra because it's going to change, right? This ilm is going to change to alima, it's going to change to alim. So that's not like, I'm looking at this word, San Jose State. So the word state does not change. You get state, status, right? State, stationary. But the word state, S-T-A-T, that's all part of the same thing. That cannot change, right? Whereas in Arabic, the only things that's permanent is the root letters, not the harakat. That's going to change. So there's no point in writing the harakat. right? And so it's worth us understanding, for those who haven't, that the origin of Latin, the Latin letters that we use, right, are Greek, correct, right? And the origin of Greek is Phoenician, right? So Phoenician is like Arabic, same kind of system. They did not have vowels because they write in the same way, right? Phoenician, they're from ancient Lebanon and those areas, right? And so what they had originally their alif, ba, ta, that's where you get alphabet, right? And the alpha is like this, right? That's the alpha, right? It looked like this originally, which means elip, which is an ox. An ox, it's a cow. So it's the alpha that we write today as the alpha, which is from Greek, is originally a picture of a cow in Phoenician. The Greek, so they had a cow god or something like that, right? But what I'm trying to say is the alphabet that we have today, what changed from what we call an abgad or an abjad, which is in Arabic, there's no halakat, there's no, fatha dhamma kasra is not part of the system. That's part of the pronunciation. That's not what you do. Whereas when they moved from Phoenician to Greek, in Greek, they said, no, in Greek, that's part of the word. When we speak Greek, we speak Latin, we speak English, part of the word is there's an A there. That's part of the word, right? Furid and farid are not the same thing, whereas in Arabic it is. Tafarrada and farid and fardaniya and iftirad, it's all the same word. It's all the same concept. Whereas in English, it's not like that. So there's no sense in Hebrew or in Arabic or Aramaic or Phoenician or any of these Semitic languages to put fatha dhamma kasra. And even alif, they often don't even bother writing. Right? They used to write Uthman without an alif. Rahman, you don't write an alif. Right? You know, in the Quran, we don't write Rahman like this. We write Rahman like this. Like this. And if you want to, you can put dagger alif, but you don't write alif. That's not how you write Rahman. So vowels are not part of the system. Yeah, it doesn't come from Arabic, but it comes from Phoenician. So Phoenicians, so the Hebrew alphabet and the Arabic alphabet, they come from Phoenician. And the Latin alphabet comes from the Greek, and the Greek comes from Phoenician. So it goes back to the Phoenicians. Yeah. And so you're saying alif is, you're saying ox. You're saying cow in some ancient language. Yeah. So I remember my European people, unfortunately, I think like white people are really dumb. I don't know what's wrong with them, right? But it's not white people, it's like Anglo people. So English people, Americans were really, really dumb. When you meet European people, they're much more intelligent, right? They study harder and it's like they do really hard things. So I remember my French teacher saying this, she was like, like, what's this whole thing about like, what's it called, the Holocaust, about Jews? Like, the Holocaust wasn't about Jews, it's about Romanians, about handicapped people, so all sorts of people. Like, what are you talking about, right? So she had on her wall in my French class, she said, your Christ is Jewish, your holidays are Tunisian, your football players, for French people, your football players are like from Africa, your language is Greek, is Italian, your food is Moroccan, your musicians are from here, and you're racist. Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, your language, none of this is even, like, it's just like, it's crazy. So this alphabet is originally from Rome, right? Originally from Rome, Latin. The alphabet, not the language, but the alphabet is from Greece. That's the first alphabet. But the Greeks they built their alphabet on a system that did not have A, B, and C in it. Vowels in it, which is called an abgad or an abjad, right? Which is like the Arabic alphabet. So the point I'm trying to say is there's no logic in putting fatha dhamma kasra. You don't need, like, I look at this word, I don't need to put a fatha dhamma kasra because I know it's ta'aleem, right? I already know that because that's the pattern. Right? Would you agree, Mikhail? Somewhat. Okay. Bismillah. Okay, next one.
Root word sajda, he prostrated. Word derived as masjid, place of prostration.
And so some scholars, as a minority opinion, they say words don't have 3 root letters. They have 2 root letters. So what you'll find is sometimes the first 2 letters, they have a system. So for example, we have i'lam, which is to inform. We also have i'lan, which is also i'lan, is also information. It's like, well, you say someone did something alanan, he did it publicly. So alan and alam, they seem related, right? They seem kind of related, right? Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he was talking about this once. He said, for example, the word ishq, which means love, right? You say ashq, ashq, you say that, right? Ashq. You have the word ush, which is a nest, right? And you have something else. I can't remember what it was, but a lot of the times, it's like that's kind of uncommon. How is it those first two letters are related, right? So in which case you have sajja, like so sajada and sajja, which sajja means to be calm. Sajada means to go down in sujood, right? Sometimes you see there's a relationship. There must be. It's two like khashi'a and khasha'a and khashiya. So khashiya means to dread. Khushu' is to be in like awe. It's like they must be related somehow. Khasha, like they both have khashin, right? But it's hard to prove it because sometimes you find so many inconsistencies, right? But sometimes Allahu Akbar is like that. Or like nafada, nafadha, nafa'a, nafaqa. They're all related to things going through. Nafidha is a window, things go through, right? Nufud is like affecting things. Nafada is to run out of something. Nafaqa is to go through a tunnel. Nafa'a to benefit people. It goes, the help goes to them. Allahu Alam, right? So the first, it actually has two root letters. Allahu Alam. It's not related. I mean, doesn't have the same letters, the same last letters. But if we say it has originally two root letters, then yeah, it does. Allahu Alam. Okay, Bismillah. Maybe just whoever has the mic can read the last few.
The alima is a good word. He knew.
Mhm.
Allama, he taught.
Good.
He ghafara, he forgave. Yastaghfiruna, they ask forgiveness of him.
Mm-hmm. And so here, what I will do in tafsir, or just understanding Arabic, is I will look at the different words that are used and try and find my meaning. So I say, for example, in Arabic, you say jammun ghafir, which means a large amount of people. And you're talking about a mighfar, which is a helmet. It's like a large amount of people, helmet and forgiveness. Like, I don't see the connection. The whole thing is about to spread. So jammun ghafir means a large body of people that have covered the horizon. Helmet covers your head. So you're saying, oh Allah, cover my sin. Astaghfirullah means I am seeking from Allah to cover my sin. As opposed to, so that's covering it over. As opposed to what? Wiping it out. It's not the same. There's a difference. Right? So you're like, oh, what's the difference between like afu, afa means to wipe something out. There's a difference. Right? So you see, oh, the subtlety in meanings. Right? So there's a common system they'll do. They say, oh, the word means this. I remember, again, whatever, probably 30 years ago, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf talking about the Dajjal. So he's going to say, he's not going to say, what does the Dajjal mean? He'll say, what does Dajjal mean? He looks up the different root letters of Dajjal, to spread muck, to do this, to do that. It's like, oh, that's what Dajjal means, right? Masih, from masaha, to wipe, right? So look at these. Look at that's how the word works, right? Muhammad, Hamida. That's why I'm looking. I don't look at the dictionary. I wouldn't look under meme. I look under ha because the root letters are Hamida. He praised. Hamada, he praised a lot. Muhammad, the one who was praised a lot, right? Sallallahu alaihi
So
wasallam.
the dictionary, because you just mentioned, usually the dictionary will have the root letter and the different.
Exactly. That's how it
patterns and
works.
the
Yeah.
meaning.
That's where you start the root letter. Yeah, and it will not start with, I don't know, masjid. Well, masjid is not under meme. It doesn't make any sense to look at under meme.
So you
Because everything under meme will probably be a person or a place. Like mustashfa, a place of seeking cure. So I'm going to look under mustashfa as under shifa. And shafiya, that's where I'm going to find it, right?
So we have to go to
The root letter.
Sheen,
Sheen, but yeah, exactly, yeah.
so the
Masjid, for example, seen, jim, dal. That's where I'm going
then
to
we
find
go to
it.
Muslim.
Exactly. Yeah. Mhm.
So when you say memorizing all the root letters can be a good.
Could be a good thing. It's impossible though. It's impossible. So So how many words? Let's do the math. So you have 28 times 28 times 28, is that right? Yeah. How many root letters is that? And you can add, sometimes they're going to have more, sometimes they have different meanings. Yeah, like sabaqa and what was it? Kathura and kathara. Kathara means he was more than somebody else. Kathura, he was more. So you can actually add them. You could sometimes add maybe even times 2. So this would be approximately the number of words you need to memorize. And I've got it wrong, haven't I? Because is there more combinations than that? Because ayn could be in any position, right? Yeah. So times 6, I think. I think you're going to times it by 6. So if you have 28 letters, right? That as a first letter. Now that could be followed by any of the next 28 and the next 28. But then they could actually, now you could shuffle them as well. So I think you're going to times it by 6 as well, I think. Something like that. So approximately that kind of number, right? So ask AI, is it a reasonable task for me to memorize 6 times 28 times 28 times 28 times 2? No. Right? So stick with 2,000 words and you'll be fine.
Which 2,000?
The book here. Memorize the words in the book. The book is saying, I want you to understand the majority of the Quran ASAP. Right? That's it.
So the 2,000 words are in this book.
Yeah, but otherwise, Lisan al-Arab, there's a famous English person, English scholar, what was his name? It's called Edward Lane. Edward Lane, he loved Arabs. He was Christian, but he loved Arabs. He used to go to Azhar and attend Jummah and dress as Arabs, etc. And he got a number of really big English Arabic dictionaries, and he made it into this work, right? He didn't finish it. So Lisan al-Arab is huge, like 80-volume dictionary. There was a Mauritanian scholar, so he said, Sheikh, have you memorized Lisan al-Arab? He said, no, but my aunt memorized half of it. Kind of crazy. It's not an easy process to do, right? When we do exercise or learning, you find out what's the normal process, right? So can you memorize 2,000 words? I think so. You can memorize 2,000 words, not impossible. If you memorize 2,000 words, you can understand most of the Quran. If you understand otherwise, it's going to be ridiculous. Anybody find out what is that? Just 260,000 words. Yeah, and that's just a root. Right, and you look in that dictionary, you look at Lane's lexicon, he'll be like, oh, but someone else disagrees and he says this. So he'll have all these things, all debates. What does the word mean?
But we are making an assumption that a combination of word exists, right? Like not all combinations
Yes, that's
of word
true.
exist.
Yeah,
So it is not just 8,000, it will be
that's
much
true.
lesser than that.
Yeah, but and that's just the root letter. So now you're going to go on to the other things, right? And it's going to go on forever. So you're talking about a ridiculous amount of words. No, it's not a reasonable thing to do. And that's why we have something called Gharib al-Quran or Gharib al-Hadith. So in dictionaries, you can study, you have a normal dictionary, and then you have a dictionary dedicated to difficult words that Arabs wouldn't normally understand in the Quran. So you have something called Gharib right, or Gharib al-Hadith, words that come in Hadith that most Arabs wouldn't understand. So they'll be like, that's a difficult word. So I'm like, okay, there's a word that that's not part of that 2,000 words. I've never seen that before. What does it mean? Right? Sometimes the Sahaba are like, I don't know that word. Right? The Prophet ﷺ used a word. Like, what does that even mean? Right? And so the Prophet ﷺ, he had traveled a lot. He was kind of different words. And so you can do that, right? Etc. Right. Okay, Bismillah. That we finished the list? A few more words.
Qama, he stood.
Mhm.
Mustaqimun, straight.
Straight, right? So the two are related, right? So ada as-salah, right? Ada as-salah means to perform the prayer. Iqam as-salah means to pray properly, right? So there's a big difference. So the prayer is there, but it's leaning. Yeah, I prayed and I'm leaning. Yeah, but you got to stand up. The prayer happens on time. It happens with khushu'. It happens in a group if it's possible. You're praying properly, as opposed to I prayed, right? Not the same thing, right? Mustaf'il, yeah, mustaf'il, yeah. Seeking to be upright.
Is ikama derived from kama too?
Is that, yeah? So iqama is the process of making something stand. And then the last word, or the second to last word? Anybody who has the microphone?
There's, 5 more, but
Oh, 5 more. Go on. Just go. You do 2, and then the other person, brother with the microphone.
Kataba?
What is it?
No. Is it both?
Kataba.
Kataba.
Right. So kataba means to join. Doesn't mean to write. To join things together. You get a katiba is a platoon of soldiers, right? So we use it to write because you write, you put words together. Okay, that's what it means.
Kitab.
Yeah, we get the word kitab, right? It's like we had the word ta'lif, right? Mu'allif. Mu'allafa means to bring things together. The composer who put it together, right? So, yeah. He put it together. So we use it as yeah. So kataba also means farada, like he made it obligatory. Like it was, I didn't have to do that, but I have now made it obligatory upon me to make it. Kataba ala nafsi rahbah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like as-salat al-maktubat means the obligatory prayers, right? So kataba ala nafsihi, farada ala nafsihi. He made it fard for himself now, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying it's now fard for me to be nice. I don't have to be nice. I could put you all in hell, create the whole universe and put you all in hell for no reason. But you know what? I'm gonna be, every single thing I do is gonna have rahmah in it. Out of his ikhtiyar, out of his choice.
Kafaru.
But the original sense of it is, to join. Similarly, even qara'a means to bring together. Right? You say, for example, that a woman, for example, she never lam taqra' salan, she wasn't able to bring together a womb. She never had a baby. So that's taqra'. We have qara'a to read, right? But the idea of bringing words together, bringing something together, that's the original sense. Right? So often it's not the way that we use it, or even in the Quran, that's not the original sense of it. Right? Yeah, in the sense, but what is it originally? It's slightly different. Or malaika. Malaika is from the word alaka, which means to send. So malaika, angels, right? But in the sense of what? In the sense of messenger angels. Right? And I believe that's the translation, messenger angels. I've seen that. The messenger angels. I'm like, why? What? That's not a word, messenger angels, with a hyphen. It's like, what's that? The point is, that's what it means. Allaka yu'alliku. Aluka is a risala, is a message. So it's like a messenger angel as opposed to angel. Right? It's not the same sense.
Kafaru. Kuffar. Kafara is he disbelieved. Kuffara is disbelievers.
And it's also farmers. So what's the relationship between a farmer and a kafir? Because they cover up the soil. So the original meaning is to cover, right? To cover something. Kafir is also the night. It covers the day. Right? That's the meaning.
Anybody wants to?
And we have kufran and kufr. Kufr means disbelief. We use it for disbelief. Kufran means to not appreciate a blessing. Kufran and ni'mah. Right? Bismillah.
Kana. Makana. He was. Kana means he was. Makana means place.
Good. So a place of being. So just place, that's what it means. The meme at the beginning means place. So you have a place of prostration, place of eating, place of this, and this place of being. So that's called makan, which means place.
So
the meme is not a root letter there. Root letters were kaf, waw, noon, as we'll see later on, right? But it's kana means, so makan, the place of raw being, mere being. All you're doing is just being there, right? So this just means place.
So what is the root letters here?
Kaf, waw, noon. Okay, so we'll learn later on that alif is never a root letter. Alif is never a root letter. It's either originally a waw or originally a ya.
So root letter is always 3, right?
Yes.
But here it is kaf and noon.
It's kaf, waw, and noon.
But waw is not.
Yeah, the waw, because what is so it should be originally kawana yaka makawan. But the waw, so the waw we're going to learn way later. We won't actually learn in this book. We'll see it, some of it in, I don't know which unit, but we won't really see it in this book. It's got the whole idea of weak letters. There are certain weak letters, they behave in a certain way. They'll go under the same forms, but under certain places, they will change. And that's also a system. So normally when you learn a language, you have regular verbs and irregular verbs. There's no such thing as irregular verbs in Arabic, but there are verbs with weak letters and they behave in a predictable way. So a wow in this position will do this. A wow here will change from, for example, the wow here will change to a ya. The wow here will change to an alif in a particular way, right?
And Sheikh, in this, the root letter and the modified pattern doesn't have any similarities in meaning, right? Here it is kana means he was, makana means place. So
Yes, but a place of being. So the point is, it's so basic you can hardly see it. It's so if I said mat'am as a place of eating, if I said masbah, I would say a place of swimming pool. If I said manzil, a place of getting off your horse and coming down off something, but just a place of being. A place of being, what do you call that? It's a place. That's what it is. It's so simple that you can hardly see what it is.
No. My thing is the root word means he was.
Yeah.
And makana means place.
Yeah, so
What is
he
the
was
root word
means
and the-
he did being. And makan is a place of being. But when being is such a basic thing that there's no point of saying it. So when we translate it as place. That's what it is, just place. But that's what what it really means is he did existence, and this is a place of existence. So it is connected, but it's just so simple that it's kind of like pointless. Okay, Bismillah, right? So we have this general idea. We're not expected to know the patterns, but we're expected to know words have root letters. You could derive things. This is a good thing because it makes it easy. Okay, it makes it easy, right? To work out what's going on and easy to analyze things. Okay. Khair. Any questions? So all of this really starts on, I think, Unit 20. Can I see? I think Unit 30, I think. We're going to see really this, Unit 30. Unit 30. No, before that as well, we see something on 29, but otherwise basically on 30. 30 to 36 is what's called the 10 forms, right? And there's a whole diagram right at the end which shows you the most important structures. Where's the diagram? It doesn't have a page number because it's in the appendix, but it's here, this one here. These are called the 10 forms, right? So let's say instead of learning 6 times 28 times 28 times 28 times 2, right? You learned, for example, 2,000 root letters or 1,000 root letters, and you knew this table, you would know a lot of Arabic. So I know most things like fahima, he understood, akala, and I could do this, I'm going to know quite a lot of words, right? So there's a few diagrams here, like I know these diagrams, like, you know, it's somewhere, it's like 4th to last page maybe. This one looks like this, has these letters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way 10. These are called the 10 forms, right? In reality, there's 17, but most of them aren't used. And then on page 129, there's a whole thing, how to use the hands via dictionary. I'm just going to show you how to do that. So I failed my French exam by doing that. I just read Arabic. That's how you do it, right? But that's basically, so Arabic is very simple. Memorize, again, basic words. Basic words, know 5 tables, and that's it. English, how do you learn English? TV, I need repetition. Because there isn't a system, right? Because there isn't a system. It's super annoying. Yeah, but they're not that complex. So the only complex rules, I'm just being honest, like the only complex rules are, just off the top of my head now, is numbers. Like numbers does not make sense. It is actually, it's opposite. So in Arabic, when you say 3 to 10, okay, any Arab, the kid in the street, he doesn't know what he's saying, but what he does is he thinks about the opposite gender of things. So he talks about cars, he uses the masculine word for 5. So he says 5 cars, and he uses the masculine version of 5. And then when he says doors, he says the feminine version of it, even though a door is masculine and a car is feminine. So that's random. And that's annoying. Like, how did this kid, is a kid in Tunisia, a kid in Yemen, how did you know that? Why did you say khams tayarat and khams abwab? How did you think like that? He's like, I don't know. He didn't even know he was doing it. He didn't even know he was doing it, but it's really complex. And it's the opposite. Why would it be the opposite? Right? Why would a word have a gender? And then why would you take the opposite gender to do that? That's confusing, right? So I get stuck. I get stuck on numbers now. Remember in my exam at, I think grammar 4 at university, like there was a whole piece of paper and they just wrote the numbers as digits and we had to write it as words. When you're going to write the word for the numbers, like, oh my God, is it khams or khamsa? Is it? So there's ashara, there's ashar, and there's ashr and ashra. So 4 days of writing the word 10, depending on how it's being used. So that's confusing. But that's about it. Otherwise, it's like a clear system. It's nice for, if you do coding, like, great. I like this stuff. Like, I like these things. My friend, I gave him 50 words to conjugate. What did he do? No, he didn't write code, but on Excel, you can make a system. So he made a system. And I said, well, your system doesn't work because here this word has a ta as a last letter and a ta as a pronoun. So you've got to merge them. So he put that in too. When there's 2 tas, they're going to merge, right? So it's very nice for people like systems. It's a systematic language, right? Mikhail's so bored, he's reading the newspaper. That's it. Or maybe he's just a spy. Yeah, in Mountain House. The Mountain House news. He's like, yeah, he's trying to think. He's thinking about investing in Brentwood versus Mountain House. Where's the pros and cons, right? Yeah, the white guy, classic white guy. Yes. Okay. So let's if we finish that, inshallah, I want to go back to lesson 10 because half of you weren't here last week. It's not a concept. It's not a new concept. We have done it before. But I want to review it. Just the way, and so unit 10, it was just how you say of. So unit 11 is the only unit that doesn't really, it's just kind of exposure. It doesn't really teach you anything. Usually each unit teaches you something. This is just kind of general exposure. Yes, Bismillah. It's Allahu Akbaru, the Dhamma. So a word can't be Akbar. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing as Farid. It's either Faridun, Faridan, Faridin. So Allahu Akbaru, Allahu Akbara, or Allahu Akbari. One of the three has to be. Because when you end a sentence, you drop the last harakah. So you say, Ja'a Farid. Now some of the Arabs do this, Ja'a Farid. So you do this in tajweed, you're like, are you joking? Say, yeah, at the end of the letter, they would make the shape of a dhamma without pronouncing it. It's like, are you serious? Say, yeah. So this is subhanAllah, it's like, if people like, anybody with insaf, like who's like studies, probably like, you see how accurately Arabs, that the Muslims have recorded Arabic and how they've recorded the Quran, you're like, oh, and I remember I had this book. This book was written by some like atheist, a Bengali atheist, right? He's like, do you think we could ever have a real historical understanding of the life of Muhammad? Like, we know how his feet were shaped, for crying out loud. Like we know so much details, like, oh, and they play this game like we don't know what's going on. Like Arabic has been preserved so much that you see like ridiculous detail. And you see it in tajweed. Like the exact, how do you say Like, how do you say Like, no, there's like 4 different ways of Arabs to pronounce 2 hams next to each other. It's like, subhanAllah, it's like somebody like going through every single thing, exactly how they pronounced it. And so, yes, that exists in tajweed and it comes in Arabic. So like things like Ja'a Zaid, and they move the lips to make a kind of dhamma. Ajib, right? Akbaru is the pattern af'al, which means most. Yeah, it's going to come in, I don't know, in 3:13 or something. It means most. So anything on the pattern af'al means most. So most big. Kabir, akbar. Jamil, ajmal. Right? So by default, faridun, right? When it's the object, faridan. When it's of, or there's a preposition before it, faridin. Oh, when is a dhamma, when there's no dhamma? Okay, so the default is a noun has a tanween. It has an L, there's no tanween. Like Allahu has an L at the beginning. The, yeah. And so, but otherwise you say Muhammadun, right, has a tanween. And there are certain words that are, so feminine names, foreign names, and certain patterns don't have tanweens. So af'al does not have a tanween. So you don't say akbarun, you say akbaru. Afdalu, ahsanu, akmalu. It doesn't have a tanween. Mikal, so his name is not Arabic, his name is Hebrew. Right? Yeah, so it's always, you say Ja'a Mikalu, not Mikalun. Ismailu, Ibrahimu. Right? It's not Arabic names. Feminine names, Aisha too. You don't say Aisha tun. I would say Aisha too, Aisha tun. That would mean Aisha is alive. Because Aisha tun means a female who is alive. But her name is, as a name, is Aisha too. Right? Or this is Barisu. Hadihi Barisu. This is Paris, not Parisun. Right? So any name, any place, or San Francisco is a bit complex, but Chicago, but let's say London. Hadihi Londonu. The Dhamma. Has a Dhamma on it. You can't have a Londonun. Right? You wouldn't do that because it's a non-Arabic name. So a name of a place or name of a person. These are all non-Arabic names. They will not have tanweens. And most of the prophets will not have tanweens. Most of the prophets are not Arabs, right? So Musa, Isa, that's different. They have alifs anyway. But let's say Ishaqu, Ismailu, Ibrahimu, Hudun is Arab. Nuhun, you can say Nuhun or Nuhu. You can say both. That's a slightly different word. It's not because it's Arabic, it's because it's on a certain pattern. You can do both. Misr, you can do both. Misrun and Misru, you can do both because it's on a certain pattern. But otherwise, Misru, Hadihi Misru, this is Egypt. Misru. Right? But Hadihi Misrun, this is a large city. Misr means a big city. Right? But if it's a name of Egypt, Misru is a Dhamma, no tanween. Most Jamil, yeah. Most beautiful, yeah. Yeah. Alif at the beginning, Sukoon on the second letter, Fatha on the third. Sukoon on the first, Fatha on the second. Yeah. Okay, so let's review from last week. I want to say of. How do I say of? So I get the word bab, and I get the word al-bayt. And I'm trying to say the door of the house. So what do? Is I make sure the first word has no al and no tanween. Babu, not al-babu or babun. So no al, no tanween. Second word has a kasra. When I see that combination, that means of. Otherwise, there's no way to say of. Fariduddini. My name is actually Fariduddin, right? Fariduddini. Shahidullahi, right? So, but if I said al-faridu, ad-dinu, that would mean the unique person is the religion. That's a totally different sentence. If I say fariduddini, the unique one of the religion, right? Ash-shahidu, Allahu, that means the martyr is Allah, or the, right? Doesn't make sense. I'm not saying that. I'm saying Shahidullah, he. So I need two things. First word, no al, no tanween. Second word in the has to be have a kasra, or it has to be majroor, has to be in the genitive. Babu baytin, what does that mean? So this is the door of the house. This is a house's door. A house's door, or a door of a house. Then it becomes the door of the house. A door of a house. You can't have an L here. Here? No, because it's got tanween. Can't have an L. I could take it off and put an L there. Now it's still of, but that means the door of the house, right? I was about to do Control Z, but it doesn't work. in reality, right?
Oh yeah, because the tanween is like the opposite of.
Exactly. You can't do two, both of them. Yeah, they are there, right? But babu baitin, the door of a house or a door of a house, right? That's simple. That's all it is. That's of. So you could do it with other words as well, like طعام اليمنيين. For example, okay, أكلت. هل أكلت? Have you eaten طعام اليمنيين؟ يمنيين. 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 So, does it matter that it has a fatha? That's not part of the, that doesn't matter. First word has no al, no tanween. Second word is in the genitive. That's it.
Because like, if you call someone like a person, if a person is Yemeni, right? Do we but
هو يمني. هو يمني with a shadda. Yeah, we don't say Yemeni. هو يمني with a shadda. Yemeni. Yeah, so the word would sound like this. Proper Arabic, like Ana Misri. Like, that sounds really weird. You say Misri, right? Misri, Pakistani, but that's in colloquial Arabic. The word is actually Misri with a shadda. Yemeniyin. I'm saying the Yemenis. I'm saying the Yemenis. You're asking was it L or not L?
no, like the ending part. Like
Let's go. I made it masculine plural. Right? Yemeniyin. Ta'ama Yemeniyin is the food of a Yemeni person. But I'm not saying the food of a Yemeni person. I'm saying the food of the Yemeni people. Does that make sense? Ta'amu Yemeniyin would mean the food of a Yemeni. But or ta'amun Yemeniyun would mean some Yemeni food. But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying some Yemeni food. I'm saying the food of the Yemenis. Yeah.
or chaos.
So a better word, a clearer word, maybe let's say Afghan. Al-Afghan means the Afghans, right? But if I said an Afghan, Afghaniyun. So ta'amu Afghaniyin would mean the food of an Afghan. But if I said ta'am al-Afghan would mean the food of the Afghans in general. And if I said Afghan food, I say at-ta'amu al-Afghaniyu. That would be Afghani food.
Do you need to say like the funny part at the end? 'Cause, like for example, when you say like
And a Misriyun. Yeah, you have to say Misriyun, yan, or yin. You have to say one of the three. You can't just have Misri. That doesn't exist.
But people say it.
Yeah, because they end on the sentence.
Okay,
At
so
the
then
end.
you can do the same thing with this. Like
Yeah, so I dropped the fatha. طعام اليمنيين. I dropped the fatha, but if I continued طعام اليمنيين. Yeah. So whenever you at the end, you always drop the last thing, the last haraka. Right? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Or so that my point is, it doesn't matter what state this is in. The point is, does this have an al or a tanween? No. Check. Is this in the genitive? Yes. Okay, now I have an of relationship. That's how you do of in Arabic. Right? Yeah, exactly. Have you eaten the food of the Yemenis? Yeah. Of the object. For his? Yeah, so when I say kitabuhu, his book, I apply the same thing. Oops, not kitabuhu. Kitabuhu. So this relationship is exactly the same as this. Same thing. Kitabu has no ala, no tanween. Who is in the genitive? So it's the book of him. Now, I don't use it that way. I don't really think about it. I said kitabu. But that's what's happening. It's the same thing. But your question last week was, yeah, but who isn't in the genitive? I say it is in the genitive. But then you said, yeah, but there's no signs. It's true, because pronouns don't have signs. right? So a pronoun, yes, it behaves in a different way, but it's the same relationship. But if I said al-kitabuhu, you'd be like, right, that's just off. Al-kitabuhu, that doesn't make any sense. Why? Because the first word cannot have an al or tanween. If I said kitabunhu, a book of his, why can't I say that? A book of his. You can't say that, a book of his in Arabic. You could say, so in English you can, a book of his, but you can't say that in Arabic, a book of his. You couldn't say kitabunhu. That doesn't make sense. So what you have to say is kitabun min kutubihi, a book from among his books, or one of his books. Ahadu kutubihi, one of his books. But you couldn't say, in English you can say one of his books, or say a book of his. You can't say that in English, in Arabic, a book of his. That doesn't make sense. There are certain structures in English that you can't say in Arabic. Like, so you can't say that. But this thing is, there's never any gap here, ever. You can never have any word in between these two. Because as we mentioned last week, it's almost like a chemical reaction, right? So you'll have a chemical reaction. I'm breathing out carbon dioxide, right? So I just made carbon dioxide in my cells, right? Can I just ask that carbon dioxide to have all the carbon on one side and the oxygen? You can't. It's carbon dioxide, that's what it is, it's bonded. So this idafa structure is bonded, you can't break it. You can't have anything in between. It's almost like one word. It's almost one word.
Because my understanding if you have a of something, it has to be two words, right?
Yeah.
What are the situations where the words could be foreign?
So there's one particular scenario, so that usually we don't do, okay? Usually we don't do this, is when you have two things. So imagine if I said, for example, the key and the door of the house. How would I say that? So normal Arabic, I would say, Babul Bayti wa miftahuhu. That's the normal structure in Arabic. When I say the door of the house, and I merge them, and its key. I would have to do that. That's normal structure, right? Now, you do find in Arabic that sometimes you can break them. You could say, Babu wa miftahu al-bayti. But that's very rare. You don't find that in the Quran. Right? And so there was somebody describing something in the sky, and he's saying, what's the Leo, right? That's a star complex, right? Leo. So he said, Baina dhira'i, between the two forearms, wa jabhati, and the forehead, al-asadi. He's describing something that's in the sky in a poetry, and he said, oh, it was between the two forearms and the head of Leo in the sky. So he separated the two, right? So there is valid Arabic, but by default, you can't do that. And if you wrote that today, they'll say that's incorrect, because it's not standard Arabic. So you can never break it. You can't ever break it. And you don't, in the Quran, you don't find them ever broken. So they're always merged together. So that is it. We've seen this many times before. We've seen it since Unit 3 or something like that. That's all that's happening, right? And it's the opposite of Farsi. In Farsi, you say what? You say what? Kitabi. And what was it? How do you say the? How do you say? How do you say the kitab? How do you say? How do you say? How do you say? What is it? Like how do you say the book of the muallim? Right, kitabi muallim. So it's the opposite. The e comes in between. Whereas in Arabic, it comes after, it becomes kitab muallimi. Right, you moved it, but it's the same thing, right? The same kind of thing, right? Kitabi muallim, right? Does it make sense, everybody? That is all, and so it comes up all the time. That's basically it. So we go on to unit. So I think the sisters, they're on unit 10 today. If you want to go on to unit 12, we can. We can cover in 20 minutes, probably. We can do anything in 20 minutes. My students, they do, I'll show just encouragement, right? I have a class at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, right? MashaAllah. 5 a.m. So I have this guy, he sent me a message today, where's Kanishka? So Kanishka, he sent me, I don't know where he is. Maybe. What date is today? No, I'm thinking he's sending me tons. He sent me yesterday, unit 16, today, unit 17. So he just does them. So he turns up for a class. He's like, so it's a class, there's like 5 people. I sit in a Zoom, what's it called, breakout room for like 15 minutes to one person, 15 minutes to another person. We do little things. He does like 2-3 units. So they do like 2 or 3 units a week. But this book, if you take, this book you can do in a weekend. Not in a weekend, but in a week. You can do it in a week. In your college. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So we get study on it. That's when we start looking for the books.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so should we look at 12 or should we wait? Yeah? Let's do it. Okay. So I'm going to be in trouble with the Minister of Interior. This is super easy. Super easy. Look on page what is it? Page 40. Look on page 41. Let's see how easy these sentences are. All he's saying is something we already know, that if you say fa'ala, it means he did. And the he is implied. That's what it's saying. Simple as that. So we can do this in 20 minutes. Sorry? Exactly. There's nothing in exactly what I'm saying. So the whole book is like 3 difficult things, 4 difficult things. Right? But very important thing. When do you digest this stuff? When you read Quran. If you don't read Quran, or you don't read Quran actively, meaning you're not the annoying nerd who is saying, why is there a fatha, why is there a kasra? And you're like, oh my God, just finish the page. Then you need to come to a class and somebody has to do exercises. Right? What does dirasa mean in Arabic? Dirasa in Arabic, okay, this is why you were all ninjas, right, Mikal? Right? Na'am, right? So we're all ninjas because nunchucks, you know what nunchucks are? They are flails for hitting rice and grain to get the chaff off so you get the grain, right? That's what dirasa means in Arabic. That's dirasa. Yeah, this was, yeah. So, no, yeah, that's what it is, sorry. A flail, it's called a flail, right? So that's called dirasa in Arabic. So the mudarris is the guy who gets you to work because you're too lazy to do it otherwise. Get on with it, get on with it. That's mudarris, right? Mudarris. Repeat, right? Riyadiyat in Arabic is math, but it means exercises because you have to do lots of exercises. You only have, but in a class you don't have to do exercises if the person's going to do exercise by themselves, right? So so people who, you got a job, you got family, you got everything, right? Kids crying in the background, right guys? Right, Willie? Yeah? So joking with these guys, right? Kids crying in the background, right? Nah, right? Then what? You got a lot of things going on in life. You've got to double lots of things up, right? You have to double lots of things up. So your Quran is your Arabic class, right? And it's like, yes, I did this, like 5 concepts in the whole book, and 2,000 words. I need to memorize 2,000 words. How do you memorize 2,000 words? Don't memorize them. Don't make a list. Just keep asking a question. What does alladhina mean again? Look it up. Those who. And then after like 20 times, you know it. Alladhina means this, right? You just pick it up, right? You just pick it up. So you need to double up. You don't have time. We don't have any time, right? It's hard enough to turn up to this class, right? You only need to turn up to 5 classes in reality. That's it, like 5 concepts. Turn up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I got the thing. But you have to do the work, meaning I'm reading the Quran and I'm asking the question, why isn't Dhamma there? This doesn't make sense. This is the opposite of what you said. Oh, rule 5.2.2, whatever, right? That's how you do it. That's what it is, right? And so you have to do those things. If you don't do other things, you're going to have to do lots of exercises. And you have to say, fill in the blanks, and then do this, and do this, and do this, and do this. Excellent call, yeah. Exactly. Perfect, exactly. Super useful book, yeah. 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 But all you need to do, I'm just trying to say, is make your Quran your vocab review, make your Quran your grammar review, and you don't have to memorize anything. I'm a lazy learner, right? I'm a lazy learner. I didn't use the 10 forms, you're going to be, oh my God, here's a whole chart. Da, 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 da. How many times you have to repeat? Right? But if imagine it's like a chemist, imagine if you're working with valency of chemicals. You don't have to memorize the valency of this is this. Like I'm working with it. I'm trying to make bonds the whole time. You don't have to memorize it. Right? But if not, then you have to memorize a list. Memorize that list, all these things. Right? Like a programmer, like, did you really have to, I mean, if you're doing it, you don't have to memorize that much, do you? Do you? I don't know. Programmers, yeah. Like if you like it and you're doing it, you don't have to memorize anything. Because your nafs says it's important because you like it, and then you actually do it. And whenever it isn't relevant, you just ignore. Right? So the problem is that you're at college right now, you're memorizing stuff you don't use. It's like, oh my God, here's a list, you're never going to see that ever again. And it's super annoying. Right? Go ahead.
Yeah. That one, can we have like the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes of class?
Or just bonding?
No,
Nah, you feel alone. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like Q&A, like questions, like
We have so many Q&As. But
if we read like outside of class.
oh yeah, but I don't mind. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Because like you said, like, we should read
Yeah.
outside of class, so like we come across something, write down.
Yeah, that's fine. Inshallah. What I'm trying to say is a class like this, it does not take 2 hours. It doesn't take 2 hours. Right? Okay, so Bismillah, let's try and finish quickly. Let's go through these. We have 15. I'm going to time you. One sentence per minute. Let's go. Bismillah. Whoever's got the microphone.
First one is Jama'a Malan.
Jama'a malan.
He gathered wealth.
Good. Where is the word he in Arabic? Where's the word he?
Huwa jama'a malan, but huwa is
Huwa is implied in the verb. Whenever you say fa'ala, you mean he did something. Okay, by default. Okay? So there's no, so jama'a malan, he acquired or gathered lots of money. Jama'a malan wa addada, right? Bismillah. Why do you say malan as opposed to malin or malun? Object. If it was jama'a malun, it would mean some money gathered something. Right? It would have a different meaning. Right?
خلق الأرض.
Mm-hmm.
He created the earth.
Mm-hmm. Where's the word he?
Implied.
Implied. Right, Mikhail? Okay. Oh, okay.
Dakhal al-Madina.
Mm-hmm.
He entered the city.
Good. Where's the word he? Implied. Simple.
And understand.
Okay, Mikhail, your job is to not eat sugar and to Mikhail, put it away, please. And you gotta hand the microphone around, okay? Yes, you. Garcon. You know garcon? So in a restaurant you have garçon, right? But it's written garcon. So like, oh, garcon. Like you know you have an American in the restaurant. And it's like garçon. Right? It's not garcon. You can't get the microphone and hand it down, please.
Who's going to do it?
Third one.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say entered deep.
Al-Madinata. So Al-Madinata is, so Medina, the city is called Al-Madina, the city. And in reality, it's not called Al-Madina, it's called Madinatun Nabiyyi. Right? Al-Madina Al-Munawwara is called Madinatun Nabi. So originally, it was idafa, the same thing. The city of the Prophet. And then it became named as the city. So then when they drop the word Prophet, you have to put the L in. Become Al-Madina. Yeah, but Al-Madina. Right? Mecca has no Al, Mecca. But it was not called Yathrib, it was originally called Yathrib, right? Mecca and Yathrib, when they changed it to the city of the Prophet. So Yathrib, هذه يثرب with no tanween, هذه مكة with no tanween.
Number 4, kharaja minha. He went out from it, the city.
خرج منها, so he is implied.
5, da'a rabbahu. He called upon his sustainer.
Or you could say his cherishing Lord, his caring owner.
فَدَعَا رَبَّهُ.
So he called upon his sustainer.
Good. So da'awa. We don't say da'awa, we say da'a, right? But the alif is never a root letter. It's originally a wow. So he called da'a. I called da'utu. Suddenly the wow, the alif changes to a wow. What happened? It went back to its origin. And that's why we have the da'wat, right? An invitation. Is that's not implied, no. He called upon his Lord, yeah. The person himself. Are you talking about who he is in the story, or who is? He called upon his Lord. Yeah.
وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. And he remembered God much.
Is much an object or an adverb?
Adverb.
Right. An adverb, right? Because I'm not describing. You're not saying he remembered Allah. That's the object. But kathiran, right? That's the difference between what do we use it like? I saw a lot of people, or he speaks a lot. I guess that's also an adverb. It's an adverb, right? Like I can say he speaks. He remembered Allah happily or quickly, right? So much as kathiran as an object. Yep, as an adverb. Go ahead.
فرجع موسى إلى قومه.
So notice here, I can say raja'a would mean he returned. Raja'a Musa does not mean he returned Musa. If there's a word, that's the fa'il, that's the word doing the word, right? If there's a word that comes after, it's like, yeah, that's the person doing it. If there's nothing, then I assume he. Okay?
عمل عملا صالحا.
So he did. And so what's the difference between fa'ala and amila? Fa'ala, he did. Amila, he worked. It was effort. So when you say amila, there's an intention, there's a niyyah. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Right? Actions are only by intentions. So when you say amal, if there's hard work and there's an intention, you did something, right? Like I can say a tree does not have amal. A tree has fi'l, it does things, but it does not have amal. Okay, and then there's fa'ala, he did. Amila, he worked hard with an intention to do. And sana'a, he worked hard with an intention to do with itqan. A masna' is a factory. The place of itqan. You refer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as as-sani', the wise creator, not al-amil, he's not the worker, right? Or al-fa'il, the one who does something, al-sani'. Right? Sina'a is like the art of something, right? Sheikh Hamza's teacher, Bin Bayya, has a book, Sina'at al-Fatwa, the art of fatwa, right? As opposed to the doing of fatwa. It's not the same, right? Fi'al al-Fatwa is not the same. Who's next?
Abad al-Taghut. He has worshipped false gods.
Taghut, from tagha yatghu, to go overboard. Tughyan. So that's a good example of the ta marbuta. You refer to a tyrant as a taghiyah with the ta marbuta. Taghi is somebody who goes overboard. Taghiyah is a gross going overboard. Right? So there's a game during the Arab Spring, they used to play this game. The Arabs play this game called taqiyah, hat. They get a hat and they go like this, taqiyah, and they play this game. It's almost like blue shoes, yeah, like that, right? They do a thing. So the pun was taqiyah. Hey, who's the Arab tyrant right now? Like, was it this person or is it this person or this person? Different Arab world, like this Arab world, you know. So taqiyah versus taqiyah, which is a hat.
فَغَفَرَ لَهُ, so he forgave him.
Good. Literally, he overspread him. Right?
Man fahala hada bi'alihatina.
Good. Who did this? To our gods. He's translated as with our gods. It should be translated as to our gods. Right? Fa'ala bihi means to do something to somebody. Just pencil that in, people. Just whoever did this to our gods, not whoever did this with our gods. Right? أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. Have you not seen what your Lord has done to the people of the elephant, not with?
قال أنا خير منه. He said, I am better than he.
What's missing there? There's no sentence there. قال أنا خير من. Oh, قال, he said. Right? قال أنا خير منه. He said. Yeah.
وجد عندها رزقا. He found beside her sustenance.
هذا ما وعد الرحمن. This is what the beneficent has promised.
وعد, to promise. وعد. So the he. Oh no, nothing's implied. هذا ما وعد الرحمن. Right? So there's nothing implied because there's the word Rahmanu. If Rahmanu, هذا ما وعد, this is what he promised. هذا ما وعد الرحمن, this is what the most merciful has promised. Because Rahmanu is there, there's nothing implied. That's it. Exactly, Rahmanu. That's it. So don't tell, if your wife's on the other side, don't tell her where we got to. So, something I mentioned before, and many people, they have this understanding is that when you have a blessing, you should thank Allah for it. That's true. When you have a blessing, you're being tested more than when you don't have a blessing. So if you have intelligence, you have American passport, you have food, you have wealth, you're being tested in a way that no one else is being tested. You're being tested more. So when you see, mashallah, I understood something, or I got to have my wife, she's on unit 10 and I'm on unit 12, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. You should thank Allah, A. But also it's a hujjah against us. The case against us, like, well, you're intelligent, right? Everyone in this room is pretty intelligent, right? Make dua for Wali, that's all right. I'm just joking, right? Everyone in this room is very intelligent. He's like, you get this stuff. We just go through 3 units really in so that means we could probably do more, right? And so that we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also in Yawm al-Qiyamah, like maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ask us, yeah, why didn't you finish the book in 1 week? If you had the brains to do it, right? Imam Bukhari was probably not that much more intelligent than us. He just put in more work. Right? So then they say, well, he's Eid. They say it's a blessing, right? So intelligence is an imtihan, is a test. Wealth is an imtihan. Safety is an imtihan. Freedom is a safety imtihan. Free time is a test, right? These are all tests, right? So we should all be, with every single blessing, there's a responsibility, right? So may Allah give us the ability, inshallah. Finish the book by next week, and we'll go on to some other things. Inshallah, smiling, we can do it, right? So it's wrong. Dhulm is to do something, is when you have other obligations, you do this instead, right? Like I was really good at French, and then I got an E in my or at least one section of my French exam. Why? Because I was doing Arabic instead of French. That's wrong. Right? Like E is like, you can't get an E in America, right? And you can get an E in England, right? We have A star, we have an E. Like, dude, that hurt, bro. Like, what's an E? It's like, it's like below D, right? Like I got an A star in my French in grade 9 and 10, and grade 12 I got like an E in my French speaking. Like, man, dude, that was really bad. Why did I do that? Because I was doing Arabic. That's not good. It's not, oh, mashallah, I was doing Arabic. It's like, there's a haqq, right? If you're either going to do the class or don't do the class, right? You got kids, you got work, whatever, right? But if you have the free time, if you have the ability, gotta kill it, F. Okay, fail. Right? I don't know if we have I think we have an F, not sure. But so F it's just that's short for fail. Right, okay. And let's stop the pain now, yeah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, guys, so inshallah let's try and work on, and subhanallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.